I'm just going to welcome today. I look at the fantastic speakers over the next 2 days, and it's an extraordinary group of people. And we've had a great stellar response in terms of the amount of attendees. So it's great that all of us are now investing probably in our brains rather than just sat at our desks. I'm just going to, next 10 minutes or so, just flick through some of the last sort of year's worth of performance at The Guardian and talk about some of our highlights and the things that we are very proud of. I mean, the changing part of the title of this conference is clearly on our minds. Is it mobile first? Is it digital first? Is it global? Is it video, et cetera, are all the things all of us are grappling with all of the time. And I just want to be able to sort of talk through a bit about our journey and some of the things that we're doing, which gives us great confidence and equally pride about the ways in which we're facing some of this changing media around us. And I thought we'd start with this. We've managed to articulate the fact that we were very social and very open 200 years ago. We were producing a weekly newsletter that was distributed in 18th century coffee houses because we felt that there needed to be a new agenda, a new voice, and it needed to be open, and it needed to be shared because that was the most potent way of being able to spread messages around. And that still is very much at the heart of everything that we still do. And for every challenge that comes up and for every issue that relates to whether news has a sustainable business model, The Guardian continues to prove that it has a way of being able to work through that. And the competition becomes ever more fierce, ever more interesting. Sometimes I look across the fence and think, gosh, I wish I worked there. It all seems so much easier. But all of this is a great challenge. All of this gives us great opportunity to be able to see how and where we exist in this ecology of news provision. And everyone, as much as people might talk about the advent of is news really important or is there a sustainable business model, it is remarkable how many new players continue to come into the news space, even though all of us seem to say there is no business here. And whether it be rich entrepreneurs who have come out of Facebook buying news media over in the States, or whether other very rich entrepreneurs want to find sustainable business models, all of that gives us great confidence that this is a market that we should be in and one that we should celebrate. And we have had to change, and we've had to change considerably in the way in which we respond to this ever complex market. There was a time where it was just newspapers, it was about pagination, it would be about managing yield. You had a set amount of pages, you deliver those pages, you can manage your ad inventory, etc. You can make your money. The journalists equally came into the office maybe about 9:30, 10 o'clock. They would write their articles, they would post them, and then they would go home. And then the whole thing would start again. The ad people start selling the ads, and the journalists come in the next morning. And clearly, that model has changed. And clearly, The Guardian has found a way to work through that, because we've described this as open. And now a lot has been said about our notion of open. A lot of people have challenged our business model, suggesting that we're not commercial, suggesting that we just give everything away for free, and that we need to start putting paywalls around everything we do to be able to create a model that we can sort of justify to shareholders or indeed our board. But we believe open is the best expression of how content should travel within this new digital space. It is the time when brave organizations can no longer control. It is a time where you need to be part of the web and not just on it. And therefore, we have taken the principles of open and applied that to the way in which we distribute our content. Some of that can be scary. I think when Eric Schmidt came into The Guardian to talk about open, he described open systems as being messy. And I think that's a really interesting term to say they are uncontrollable. They are things that sometimes make sense, but I'd rather have content that travels and that is open rather than be closed. And the whole idea of judging one's success by a finite number of subscribers paying a certain amount of money each month is not allowing you to take the full extent of this huge digital opportunity that affords us across the globe. And through that confidence, we have been able to migrate the way in which we talk to our most valuable readers and how we've managed to translate our content into the different platforms that present themselves. So this was our beautiful design, as it was in 1996, a glorious piece of work there. You can see how The Guardian presented itself on desktop. It then evolved into this in 99, and in 2010 started to look a little bit similar to what we have today. And then now, obviously, we have, through our open strategy, made sure that we're available across every single device, still feeling very true and holding very true to our design principles and our ease of navigation. And we have gone from 0 now to 180 people who sit within DigDev, who are there working hand in hand with our journalists to ensure that our content travels and is consumed by as many people as possible. Why do we do this, though? In the end, it is all about the journalism. The whole principle of why The Guardian exists and why we all come to work working stupidly long hours, in the end, is to be able to break stories like this. And Alan will say that you get the stories you deserve. And we don't believe that if we had not been open and if we didn't have a brand that was globally influential or indeed could garner response and create comment, people like Edward Snowden would not be coming to us, they'd probably go somewhere else. And so both it has commercial merits, but equally and as important as with The Guardian, it also has huge impact in the types of stories that we can break. And numbers, we've got to go through some numbers just to sort of validate what we're all doing. But 40 million uniques is a huge number. 4.3 registered users, people who are coming to the site every day, revealing themselves and telling them more about us in relation to data. And 95,000 paying digital subscribers. And in relation to also being open, we had in January 1 million comments posted across the site. That's 1 million people that we're having a conversation with and dialogue with to ensure that we're both listening to what they're saying, combined with what we're writing, give us and them the whole picture. And so that in aggregate is beginning to give us some big, big numbers about why the open strategy works. And also, it's interesting how our nearest competitors sometimes can refer to the social reach as being marketing reach, as opposed to an extension of our content. And when we've got 19.6 million views from Facebook, or that amount of reach from Twitter, or indeed the shares, which is second only to the BBC in relation to Twitter, it starts to show how The Guardian has now become part of this digital ecology and how we don't fear social, we don't fear the way in which Facebook can add reach. It's all part of the mixture and the rich fabric of what it is that we do. And equally, as well as the brand and as well as our content, it is clear that the brand has resonance all around the world. How we've now gone from the 9th largest newspaper to the 3rd largest site in the world, creating 90 million unique browsers across the globe, and that's 23 million in the US and 4 million in Australia. And so as I sit, the person responsible for the commercial performance, all I see is opportunity. Every time I travel to the US, or when I speak a week a month when I go over to Australia, etc., and I stand in front of agencies and I talk about our brand, our reach, and the types of content that we do, advertisers are willing to give us money. But print is still really, really important, and our strategy required us to put price rises through every single year, but we've combined those price rises by also delivering something back to our readers. And so we've been innovative, whether it be in Cook, or whether it be Tech Monthly, or Do Something, whereby we've given something back to the reader. We have had to put the price up, and also supported that by fantastic marketing. And as a result of that, our circulation is up year on year, rather than down. And so I suppose going forward, one of the other reasons why we remain and are very optimistic about the future is because as you come out of the recession, we've been doing a huge amount of research just to try and understand the relevancy of our brand, our audience, and what it is we do with consumers and with readers to see how the fit works. And it's clear post-recession that all consumers and our readers require transparency, whether that's transparency from their media that they consume or whether it's from the brands that they buy from. And transparency is very much at the heart of what we do. Also, there is a strong desire from consumers to ensure that all brands are everywhere, whether that be on tablet, whether it be on mobile, etc., and that's obviously important. And also, there is a high demand from consumers increasingly that brands do have compelling stories that they can engage with. And obviously, I wouldn't put the chart up otherwise, is that we believe we fit very cleverly across those three categories. In terms of transparency, open journalism is a complete, most authentic act of openness. It allows people to interact with who we are. And some of the presentations that I make to boards and some of our clients is about how brands can be more open and be more transparent, particularly, and that led to our very big deal we did with Unilever. In terms of open innovation, that is a very good summation of how we exist across different platforms, and that makes sense of that. And then in terms of storytelling, with the launch of Guardian Labs, we're getting much, much cleverer at being able to provide open ideas to our clients and agencies rather than just selling space. One of the things that I think we are all grappling with, and something that I wish we spent more time doing, is quantifying the impact of advertising within these very special places such as The Guardian. I think increasingly context, how a consumer values the brand, how much the consumer values the brand, does now need to be considered in the way in which we value advertising within this space. And I think every time I hear of an ad network or the programmatic or us consolidating media buys, et cetera, and the rush to the bottom, is all beginning to actually erode the true value of some of these incredibly premium environments of which clients and agencies want to advertise in. And I think we, as whether it be through Newsworks or whether it's through other industry bodies, are all trying to grapple with how do we make sense of time spent, interaction, attitudes, trust, influence, etc. And I think we've got to get much, much cleverer about how we demonstrate the premium nature of these environments, which as cookies become less important, or dare I say we live in a non-cookie world, or viewability becomes an absolute vital component of success of advertising, we're going to have to make sure that all these metrics make complete sense. And in response to that, we created our own planning tool, which is Audience Not Platforms, which allows agencies to buy audiences, and then we would optimize it across our different platforms. That meant that we could take the heavy lifting away from agencies. They would just say which audience that they wanted, and we would make sure that delivered across mobile, tablet, and paper. And that would drive up GRPs and bring down the CPMs. Now, all of this would be, frankly, pointless if I couldn't nod to some financial and commercial success. And we've had a stellar 2 years. We've had 8 quarters of consecutive revenue growth. Our digital revenues for 13-14 will be up by a further 20%, hitting 70 million, and if I'm America, I can say over $100 million. And that's off the back of the previous year of 30% year-on-year growth at 55 million in terms of digital revenue. We've got 5% net growth in terms of total revenue for Guardian News and Media, over 200 million, and 50% digital ad revenue contribution. And so this shows, regardless of what is written and the commentary around whether The Guardian is indeed a commercial operation, these numbers are very, very unique against some of our nearest competitors here, and also are beginning to create great traction in Australia and America, whereby our commercial operations are getting stronger and stronger by the day. Equally, we've just sold our stake in Auto Trader, producing 620 million combined with 250 million we already had in the bank. So we have these results plus 850 million pounds in the bank to be able to then invest on the next road of innovation, which doesn't stop. So every time we look at these numbers, we now put our budget together the following year, and there are clearly challenges, but at least we have that money in the bank to be able to support this strong performance. And part of that future journey is around grow, deepen, retain. We have hired very recently a chap called David Magliano, who is going to be the managing director of membership. And that is all about how do we take this huge reach globally and how we translate that into data, and how we then create communities of interest where we can then start to make either more money or actually start to create deeper relationships with our readers. And what is clear, the legacy businesses of the past have monetized anonymous individuals, whether it be us, whether it be ITV, Channel 4, our whole time has been monetizing huge chunks of people that we didn't know. And now the business, particularly at The Guardian, is focused on infrastructure, paid platforms, user journeys, all of the things previously that perhaps The Guardian didn't think it was relevant to them, a lot of language around ARPU, etc. But now the commercial strategy, other than just monetizing our reach, is about how we convert people onto the right-hand side and create some big and ambitious plans around audience retention and membership. So in conclusion, always got to use a quote from Alan Rushbridge, it helps. Open journalism gives a more complete picture, and we do it because if we don't open ourselves up, people will simply do it elsewhere. Why compete when you can collaborate? It's better commercially. And that, in summary, is what represents our success at The Guardian and what we will continue to do over the next few years. Thank you for listening.